everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And today I'm really excited. We are here to talk with another author. We love talking with authors on this podcast. And we are here with author Jenny Erlingsson to talk about her new book, Her Part to Play. And Jenny, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to get to chat with you.
Yes. So this is your first time on the podcast. So why don't you tell us what got you inspired to start writing?
Oh my goodness. I really feel like, I've been writing since I was a child, scribbling on pieces of paper. But that
Uh-huh.
lasted, I think we all do, right? But that
Yeah.
lasted for me. But honestly, it's all the books I read.
Uh-huh.
I was the girl in summertime who would either spend all day outside playing with my friends, trying to start a business with our easy bake ovens, or I would be inside the next day all day reading Babysitter Club books, Nancy Drew,
Ah,
Sweet Valley High,
yeah.
Goosebumps, and other similar, but I regret that because I'm more sensitive to to scary stuff. So, but yeah, I think just reading those books just really
Yeah.
inspired me to write my own stories. And so as I played with my Barbies, because I still did when I was
Uh-huh.
12,
Yeah.
I began to write stories about them, and that kind of progressed.
Uh-huh. I love that. Yeah, I read a lot of the same books series that you just talked about, and Babysitter's Club especially.
Hmm.
Well, that was definitely a favorite. Loved Roald Dahl. That was like the fantasy that I got into was like something like a little more grounded in like
Hmm.
reality. I probably would have loved Harry Potter if that was when I was older, that it came out. But something like that where it's like as opposed to something like in a completely fantastical place, that usually wasn't my jam.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like a little bit of with Roald Dahl, and I loved Anna Green Gables. That was a
Yeah.
favorite.
Oh yeah, and
And
then of course the classic Little Women, Secret Garden,
yes,
all of those too. And sometimes you look back, reading those as kids, they were pretty thick
yeah, they
books.
really
Like
were.
they really were, but we did it. Like
Yeah,
so yeah, when my kids are just like, I'm bored, I'm like, listen, I don't know what that is. That's a luxury.
yeah.
What are you talking about? Like
What is that?
what is
Yeah,
that?
we learned quick not to tell our mom that we were bored because then she
Mm-mm.
would give us some work to do.
Yeah, but there'd be plenty to do then. Yes.
Yeah. We're like, well, we'll find something to do that's not work. Yeah. So you are Nigerian American?
Hmm.
Is that on your
I
website?
am.
So how did you end up what's your story as far as ending up in America? And where did you grow up?
Well, I
Part
was
of the
actually
country.
born in Huntsville, Alabama. So my
Okay.
parents are Nigerian immigrants. So I'm first generation, and yeah, and grew up
Ah,
there. My dad was getting his first degree at a university there, and so we were there. But then lived in a few places like Baltimore and Washington D.C. area, Knoxville, but then back in the Madison Huntsville area when I was around 12. So yeah.
mm-hmm. Cool. So did you like go to school thinking, okay, I want to become a writer? Was that like a career goal of yours or no?
I wish. And I think this is the part where you talked about my Nigerian heritage.
Uh-huh.
That's where this comes from because a lot of other Nigerian kids of Nigerian parents will tell you, like, there is you're going to go to school to write? That's not, no, you're going to be a
Right.
doctor, you're going to be a
Yeah.
lawyer, engineer, maybe an
Right.
accountant, possibly, right?
Yeah.
So that was not, so yeah, so writing was just this hobby and this passion. But, and I was going to go to school for pre-med, psychology into pre-med, and then quickly realized that was not for me. So I went into social work.
Uh-huh.
But my concentration, my focus was writing in social work. So like policy planning, administration, and grant writing. So, and then I never ended up working in an agency. I ended up working at church and writing out Bible studies and messages and all of that. So yeah, so I came around and my parents got over it. They were good, but they were not initially happy.
Yeah.
I did not become the doctor I said I would when I was 6 years old. So
Yeah. I think that happens to a lot of people. They take
mhm.
organic chemistry and they're like or anatomy and it's like, oh nope, nope.
Or like me, I was a candy striper. So like I was like, let me volunteer at a hospital. And I was like, yeah, no, no, this is not, but it's not for me. But then it took me years to actually finally admit it and have the guts to say, this is not for me.
Yeah.
I'm not the
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah. Well, so your husband is from Iceland, and I didn't realize till
Hmm.
we got on this call, you actually live in Iceland.
Yes, currently I
That's
do.
so
I'll say
fun.
currently because you never know what will happen, but yes, as of
Right.
today, yes.
Wow. So that
Yeah.
how did you meet?
We met at, it was funny, we had some people over for lunch, and so we were telling them the story, but long story short, we met through our church. He
Uh-huh.
had gone over to kind of hang out with his friend, ended up staying there, ended up then working in kind of inner city ministry, we would say, in Huntsville. But he was he was just had a relationship with a lot of different churches and ministries and organizations. And so he was kind of there a lot. I remember him passing by my office from time to time and all that. But, and I wasn't feeling it initially. But then 3 years after that, then we did reconnect and yeah, ended up getting married. And so we've been married. It'll be 14 years this August and we have four
Wow.
kids.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's I mean, I'm sure you never saw yourself living in Iceland.
I know, no, because even him,
Unbelievable.
because he was the one sibling of his family that was like, he was off always everywhere else. So even his parents never thought he'd be back living in Iceland. And so, but here we are. And so as soon as I look
Yeah.
around, especially since we've had these active volcanoes, like I think five this year so far,
Uh-huh.
and eruptions, I'm
Oh,
like, so
wow.
I'm like, I have molten lava, under magma under my feet. Like, where am I? What am I doing?
You're like, well, oh well.
Yeah. Oh well, here we are.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
So I saw on your site you have something called Milk and Honey for women. What is that all about? And can you explain what that means?
Yeah, and I wouldn't even call it like, because like an organization, or I wanted to call it a community when I first
Like a
started, but it's just
mantra?
really just encouragement, basically. But I take milk and honey from this the phrase in the Bible that says, when God says, "I will send you into a land flowing with milk and honey," because there's a story in the Bible about Deborah, the prophetess who was a leader in Israel during that time. And then this woman, Jael. It's a very actually graphic story because Jael ends up putting a tent peg through the head of the enemy army. So it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
But that story, because they were working kind of together, though separate, really reminded me that we as women, we have so many different roles, and it's really easy for us to be in competition, to compare, to look at maybe someone else's highlight reel and then discount the reality of our lives, or vice versa. We think maybe somebody with a platform, they have it all together, or somebody maybe who is at home, working at home or whatever, maybe they have, they're living life. But I think we fail to recognize that God has placed us where we are for a purpose and for a reason, even if it's just for a season, and that together we have the ability to see so much change brought out, so much influence, that even if it's one small act that you do, it matters. Just like this podcast, like it matters. It's bringing so much light and laughter and joy to people. And if we just compare our roles, we'll miss out on the significance of who we are. And so the cool part is that Deborah's name means honeybee and Jael's name means mountain goat. And then mountain goat, of course, goats produce milk. Honey bees produce honey. And so from there, I was like, oh my goodness, this is really cool, because in this part of God saying this land flowing with milk and honey, there's these two women who represent that literally in the story. And so that's where I kind of got that from. And so I use that just to really encourage women, just like at the root level, wherever you are, being authentic. But then from there, I started Milk and Honey Books, which I've helped other women, especially. I think it's been all women so far. Either write their books, design their books, or publish their books, and so that's been really cool to be able to do that for women, not just in the States, but overseas in different places as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they say that comparison is the thief of joy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really true.
It
And so
really
often
is.
you're comparing your worst with their best.
Yes, yes. And social media, that's what social media
Yeah,
does. It's like we
absolutely.
do this and we know, but we forget that these are highlight reels or even just what's been posted out of maybe 25 that were rejected. Yeah. So it's so true.
Right. Yeah. That sounds really interesting. That sounds cool. So how did you get to this point where you wanted to write a fiction, write a novel, and
Hmm.
how did you make it all happen? How did this
Oh my gosh.
come?
It's a funny question. Like, how did I make it all happen? I don't know. Because, doing what I can. But of course, I've always written. And I ended up actually, as far as publishing, like I have a couple nonfiction books and, writing other things. But fiction has always been my first love in writing. And honestly, I think during the pandemic, when people were baking bread or buying plants, I did buy plants. Most of them are dead now. Taking up
Yeah.
other things. I was like, you know what? I need to go back to writing. And even though I have independently published other books, I really want to learn this craft. So I wanted to go the traditional publishing route that way, to try to get an agent, to try to get a contract, not even just because of that process, but so that I can get better at my craft, if that makes sense. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, so just to get better at telling stories. So I saw my agent, that she was a brand new agent, and I
So
think
you
it
had an
was,
agent.
yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
September of
Okay.
2020, I saw she had just come on to this agency I'd been watching. And so I reached out, and then we went back and forth for a year talking about different things and proposals. And yeah, so then it happened. The first publisher that rejected my manuscript loved it, but just it wasn't a fit for them. So she's like, "Hey, can you add like 25,000 words to this in like, a month, basically? And let's see for another one, So I did, and Ravel accepted it, which is really great. So that was 2 years ago almost.
Wow. You must have freaked out when you got
Yes.
that.
Yes,
That's
especially to be
cool.
able to do it from Iceland too. That's the cool part. I
Yeah,
mean, to not even be full time in the States and be able to write. It's just such a
for
huge
sure.
blessing.
So would you say you're a pantser or a plotter
Oh
when
my
you write?
goodness. What do people say? I heard people say plant sir, I think I'm still learning what I am exactly. I know that I'm a list maker, so I'm really
Uh-huh.
trying to work and write through my strengths. So I'm like, okay, Jenny, like I could be a pantser, but I also know that I like making lists. So what I do, I try to have some sort of idea and outline. And what I started doing is putting that outline in my notes app so that if I have 15 minutes, if I have 5 minutes, if I have an hour, I don't need to even have my laptop. I will like type really quickly into my phone, or I've started doing dictation and just like talk through. So if I have those like specific outline points lined out, then I can kind of just like talk and then see what comes out of my mouth or comes through my fingers, and then I'll put it on the computer and edit from there. So I don't know what that is. Maybe that's plants, or maybe that's the middle. I think
I think a
I'm
lot
still
of times,
figuring it out after
I
book
think a lot of
one.
times people start as pantsers, and then the more books you do, the more you have to plan it, which makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
makes sense.
That it does make sense.
Well, so I know that faith is very important to you. What do you think makes for good inspirational fiction?
Ooh, that's a good question. And I think, it depends on, of course, the genre and the author and the author's voice as well, and what people expect from that author. Kind of, in the, I guess, maybe the Christian arena when it comes to books or even faith-based and clean. You have some authors who are really like, will be out there with what they're sharing, and some is just maybe barely even there. So I think it really just depends. But I think definitely hope-filled for sure, whether it's overtly Christian, whether it's a more subtle with the faith elements, definitely having a hope-filled, I don't even want to say ending, but is leading people to hope, I think is what most authors would agree really makes for really good faith-based
Hmm.
fiction for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So your first novel, Her Part to Play, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about what the novel is?
I would love to. Part to Play is about a makeup artist who is living in my lovely fictional town of Hope Springs, Alabama. And she was a professional in Hollywood until she left to take care of her mother, who eventually passed away. But because she's trying to save her parents' legacy in the community center, she's kind of desperate for extra income. And so she takes a role as a makeup artist on a film that is set in her hometown. But she does not expect to be placed because she's just going to come in for the extras. She didn't expect to be placed face to face with the actor who not only, yes, a star, but who is the one who accidentally kind of got her fired from Hollywood. So she's not a fan and she's not happy. And he's kind of come off from a breakup. And so he's also trying to find his way again and is not exactly happy to be in this, what he calls a sleepy small town. So he's a little bit not wanting to be there and then wondering why this woman does not care for him. She's not groveling. She's not really impressed.
Right. Yeah.
Around him. So she's trying not to be rude since she is, that is her job. But so sparks definitely fly, but thankfully the sparks, go into more.
So how did you get this idea? Where did that kind of germinate from?
It actually came from, which is interesting because they're totally two different genres, but I was watching a lot of the behind the scenes footage of The Chosen. So I was watching because they had so much they were just putting out there, just so many different, like, this is what the crew looks like, this is what our set looks like. And so I just remember thinking, like, all these people spend so much time together. What is that like? What develops between the cast and crew or just any of the industry professionals, So like, especially like you have makeup artists sometimes who are having to do like 4 to 5 to 6 hours of makeup on just one person. So like, especially in a smaller film set in a smaller town, kind of what kind of relationships would develop from their friendships, but of course also romantic relationships.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's kind of almost the American version of like a royal story in the, that's as close as we get to like having royal is like our celebrities or whatever. So like a normal everyday person falling for the big movie star. That's it's almost like got that sort of Cinderella dynamic a little bit.
It does. And I felt like as I wrote it, I had like Cinderella-esque like kind of threads within that. So then of course I'm like, I think I have Pride and Prejudice like threads in here too. Yeah. It all comes in always in all of our books. But I think that is so true about that royalty aspect.
I'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Elise Murray and her exciting book, Society Girl. Set in the mysterious world of Oxford University's secret societies, Society Girl follows Sam, a duke's estranged daughter, as she attempts to join the most famous club of them all, the Animos Society. Her final initiation challenge is simple. Find a man, convince him she's in love with him, and then break his heart in humiliating fashion. Hardened by her father's rejections, believing that the Animos Society is her key to his love and acceptance, Sam throws herself into making Dano Best, her father's chauffeur and local musician, fall for her. But she never counted on falling in love with him right back. Fans of Colleen Hoover, Anna Hong, and Mia Sheridan will love Society Girl, a sweeping romance from bestselling novelist and screenwriter Elise Murray. Free for Kindle Unlimited users for a limited time. Go to elisemurray.com/novels/Society Girl for more information. Or you can use the affiliate link below. So how is it creating John and how do you say her name? Adon?
Adane. Adane, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How did you come up with that name and in developing these characters? What was that like?
Yeah, that was fun and also challenging because first of all, like I had a different name for Adane, which was Adana, but my mom was like, well, that's not really, because I was trying to do like a Nigerian name, and she's like, well, that's not really from our specific tribe. I'm like, okay, well.
Okay.
So and I had a specific meaning, so I'm always looking at the meaning of the names too, kind of for even an underlying theme. And so that's how her name came about. But developing the characters was really fun because especially in this close proximity scenario, you have this woman who is really kind, she's really loving, she's compassionate, but she is just struggling with not caring for this person, especially because she's judging him from years earlier. And so developing her was fun, but it was challenging because my editor initially on the first round was like, I don't really know if I like her. And So can we, yeah, like, we maybe need to kind of have her ease off on her that. And even, some readers might feel like she's still a little bit feisty at the beginning, but so I did definitely shift a lot, and which was great, because then the scenes shifted, even more. And John is fun because I feel like I think he gets captured and pulled in by her quicker. So he's kind of trying to be in her business, like, hey, so what are you doing? Or what are you doing this afternoon or whatever? And so that's kind of fun to kind of have that. You have this star, this Hollywood guy, but because he's come off of such a tough season, he's in a more vulnerable place. And so he's kind of more open and also desperate, I think, for authentic connection. And he sees that in her. And so that was kind of fun to play too.
It is always nice in a romance when the dude falls first. That's just swoony.
I
It's
think
nice.
so. It is. It is. I want the swoon. I definitely want the swoon in there.
Now, this is a pretty heavy faith centered book. I have John having a conversion story basically through the story. Was that hard to know, kind of how much of that to include and how to write that part of the story?
Yeah, that's true. Well, and for him, he comes to faith beforehand. So before the book opens, like, he has come to faith, but now he's kind of, his issue and struggle is the tension between kind of how he's trying to shift, and then the past, and the past behavior, and recognizing too that, not say based on his, say, lack of faith, but that he was a jerk before, and then he struggled with certain things. But I did my best to write it as authentic, as I could, without, I definitely don't want to be preachy at all. But just even me, kind of the different roles I've had, of course, and what I do on a daily basis, of do my best to encourage people. So that just kind of like came through. And so you had, even though both John and Adene are struggling in various ways with their faith, but you have their community who is speaking encouragement in different ways. John's mom, the things that she says to encourage him, and then Adene doesn't have her parents around, but she has an aunt, and I love her aunt too, because her aunt's like, you need to make sure you have peace, but you need to give him peace of your mind as well. So she's feisty and all of that. So I wanted it to be authentic, not only to the story, but to each character, how they would bring it. And not everyone's there. Her cousins who are part of it are on different levels. But yeah, I wanted it to at least be authentic from the character, so that it would feel authentic for the book and organic.
Well, and the faith elements allowed you to give him a sense of community. And that was something that was missing in his life.
Yes.
So
for sure.
That was good. Was it fun to write, to think about like the premiere and like what she might be wearing and things like that?
Yes. Oh, that is like one of my favorite scenes in the book. So, and now it's not too much. I don't want to give too much away, but just that aspect, and that's where I think where the Cinderella part kind of comes in. And it was so fun to kind of think about, but also some research too, because you see something, and I didn't realize what all goes behind, like when the celebrities and the stars are finally on the red carpet, but the process that they take to get there, and some of those things. So having to, and then to research and think about, okay, where do they get dropped off? What are the streets, to try to be as accurate as I could, which I've seen a few reviews that said that part is pretty accurate. So that's really encouraging. But so it was cool to think about in a romanticized kind of way, because of course some of the red carpet scene, some of it can feel like, we all have our different opinions sometimes on what we see, the reality of celebrity and Hollywood and all that. So I hope that I definitely put a rosy hue for that moment.
Yeah.
Especially for their sake. Yeah.
Well, that just helps with the whole Cinderella aspect of it, to feel like kind of the magic of it. And then when it all kind of goes wrong, you just you feel it, because you felt the high, and so then you feel the low.
Yes, for sure.
Well, one of the things I think is really important in clean romance is to develop like a sense of palpable sense of touch throughout the story, so that helps like build chemistry so much. And so one part that I thought was strong was early on when I liked this line. You said, The lingering feel of her in his arms seeped through his long-sleeved shirt, her warmth still tangible on his skin. Her eyes were captivating, even with her gaze averted as much as she could manage. I thought that was a good
Yes. That love
captivating
line, as much as
eyes.
she can manage, like she's trying to not look at you, but and I think that's why, like we said, like he fell first, because there is this aspect of just that connection that he's like, has another actress in his arms, like for parts of the other scenes in the movie that he's filming, but this, makeup artist who has to step in into that scene. It's like, okay, why is this different? So he definitely kind of feels that.
Was that something you thought about? Is like, how do I develop this connection while keeping a clean romance, obviously?
I
Building
think
that.
I think that's just part of like, when that slow burn aspect of it's still clean, but just like there are these, I think, subtle ways. I just think about like, when like the junior high crushes, high school, and then like even like say with my husband, just like the kind of subtle things. Like when my husband, sometimes I remember before we were dating, he would hug me and his hand would linger. I mean, a half second. It would be a half second longer on my back, you know what I'm saying? So it would be that way. And I'd be like, so those little touches, I think, and we all know, like we talk about it all the time, that hand flex in Pride and Prejudice, right? So I think that was what I was like, how do I bring in more of those moments? Because those moments will they just knock all of us out, right?
Right.
So simple. Why are we this way? But
yeah. It's so, I mean, as much as you love the like giant declarations and things like that, like there can be those just subtle little moments of touch that can be so swoon worthy. I love nothing more than like a just, oops, our hands accidentally touched. Oh, we accidentally.
Because it's like a magnet. I think that's why, because it becomes so much like we can't even help ourselves in a way. And then, so that happens. And I think then when the characters are even surprised by the sparks, like surprised by that sizzle or, from just that small interaction or touch, it just makes it just, so cool.
And I know it's tricky when you're writing a story about people working together, because obviously you don't want anything to be sort of skeevy on that level. But that's why that element of surprise, I think, works.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, because, even as I was doing the edits, there's a part where it's like, okay, how early do you bring in kisses? How much do you put in there? But I really also wanted to be careful that nothing was inappropriate on John's end, because not only just Me Too movement, but that level of like on that set, right? You have someone that with a position of power per se, because you're on the top of the call sheet. And so I want to make sure that what John did was respectful and so him as a character as well, he actually is doing his best to not, because it's even more so than if they were in another setting for him, like that could cost him his job, his career, if something got misconstrued the wrong way. And so, so that helped also kind of give me an excuse to keep that burn very slow, or not, I wouldn't say very slow, but pretty slow and not so out there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. When you're writing, do you think of your like dream cast if they were going to make a movie off of your writing?
Yeah. I do. Oh my goodness. Well, and there's you have your favorite. I'm not gonna be like, I think everybody like has put like majority will put probably like people like Henry Cavill, Chris Hemsworth like in there, But of course John's Italian, so that's a whole different, aspect. But so I don't know if I have anyone specific for him. Just like, you see random actors are like, oh, that would probably fit. But for Adene, like the actress actually that plays Tamar in The Chosen, I think she would be perfect for her. There's also another actress. I haven't seen her as much. She's in some series I haven't even seen, but I just saw a post from her on social media. I was like, oh my gosh, that looks like Adene. When you have that picture in your head. What is her name? No, not Cassandra. I can't remember. Something Richardson, I think is her name. But but as far as like, like A-list or even B-list actors or actresses, I actually don't have too many. It's just like I see random, because we see so many pictures and posts of different people and models. So I'm like, oh yeah, you fit and you fit. And so I have a Pinterest board of several. So like there's like 20 different people. But
Well, I enjoyed the book. I thought it was a sweet, fun story, and
Thank
I think
you.
people will have a good time with it. And when is it available on
June
Amazon?
18th.
June 18th.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Hmm.
Well,
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
end our interviews with some fun get to know you questions. So first up, what is the best ice cream flavor?
Oh my goodness. Now listen, like this is funny coming from me right now because Icelanders love their ice cream. And it seems so like not like it fits because of the majority cold weather. But I am so stubborn. Like I like my Haagen. So I don't like I like the Icelandic, but my favorite is Haagen-Dazs. There's a dulce leche flavor, but here's what I mix it with cookies and cream and sometimes strawberries and cream. I know that's weird. I'm sorry. I know. Yes. Yeah. So it's Haagen-Dazs, a mixture of those
Okay.
flavors
Good.
is my favorite right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your favorite color?
Oh, I don't know if I have one, but you know what I've been loving lately is how we've gone back to the 90s, the sage green and the mauve and like I actually love like the honey kind of whatever this color is. I love this color.
Okay.
Like the mustardy honey. But yeah, I actually most of the time don't necessarily have a favorite, color, which I know is strange.
I'm fine going back to a lot of things from the 90s, but some of the fashion, I'm like, that does not need to come back.
It don't.
High-waisted jeans. No one looks good in high-waisted jeans. They just look terrible on everybody.
Or like, when is it shifting? Like, when is it shifting? And I try like even like what's kind of like the middle part. So I try every now and then. So, but it's like, yeah.
Well, it's like we had the two extremes in the 90s. We had the men's jeans that were like practically on the floor, and we had the women's that were like way up high.
Yeah. And it's just
it's terrible.
So you're seeing like, all the like the teens and the 20-year-olds are like, wow, like that, like, wow.
Yeah.
But this
so
is
many of the fashion in the 90s only looked good on like 5% of humans.
Yes. Yes.
Like
and now 95% of us humans are wearing it. And
it's bad.
It's like because there's nothing else to choose from, but I don't know. I may prefer the medium high waist to I think the low rise that we were doing in the 2000s, would you say?
Yeah, it did get pretty bad there for a while.
Yeah. It was
like,
yeah.
Pull up your pants.
It was because I can see what is that bone? Your pelvic bone at the top right there.
Yeah.
It's like
I love it in Clueless when Cher's like guys put on their greasy hair into the cap. They and they expect us to swoon as if.
My goodness, it is so funny. I mean, I do look back, like I love Family Matters and all those shows and all that. And so you look back at some of the different styles, but then what you were watching, it's like, wow,
oh, man.
Yeah, we did swoon, or like the pop, like, yeah.
It's bad.
It was
what music are you into?
I am into a combination of I love soul, I love R&B, I would say pop, jazz, gospel, like kind of that realm, but not as much the modern. So like if I'm listening to R&B, I'm probably listening to 90s R&B, honestly.
You would like, I saw at Sundance, I saw a documentary on Luther Vandross. It was so good.
What was it? What was it on? What streaming?
Well, it was at Sundance. I think it might be coming to HBO, like to Max. But anyway, keep an eye out for it. It was really good.
Yeah.
He was an awesome person and so talented.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. Cool. So what is your go-to date night food?
Oh, I want to say anything that I don't cook. But oh my goodness, go to get date night food. Like I think there's this food hall, we call it, close to our town that they make amazing burgers. I mean, they're probably the best
Oh,
burgers I've had stateswide here in Iceland. So that's yeah, really
cool.
good. But then we also love the all you can eat meat, Texas Say Brazil. That
Oh,
restaurant, I don't know if
yeah.
it's everywhere where like you kind of get different meat choices and all that.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get the meat
But
sweats in a place like
yeah,
that.
my husband mostly. Of course, I guess it's more solidarity. Look, because I'm the type like just like the color, the food. I tried on my wedding dress like several times, and each time I was like, I think I want another, but I had already gone with it. So I'm the type like having a favorite. I don't know, it's hard for me. Like
Yeah.
yeah, I just changed. So tomorrow
Well,
maybe a different date night food.
okay. Well, what is your go-to date night activity if you're going out doing something?
Oh my goodness. I like just being able to maybe to go to a movie, just
Uh-huh.
like just really normal. Cause I think with
Yeah.
4 kids, like some of those normal small things are just not, you know.
Yeah.
So just yeah, going out to eat, and going to a movie and being able to enjoy not questions. I'm not getting you more popcorn. You're not like, just
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
You can just enjoy it. I always
Hmm.
say that I actually think like the ideal date movie, of course, it's a little different when you're like married and a couple and everything, but because people always think, oh, you want to go to a romantic movie. No, I don't think so. I think you want to go to a movie that's just a little bit scary, not like murdery scary, just like a little bit like some tense scenes, because that's like perfect for like getting close,
Yes.
whatever.
I agree. Like even like
Yeah.
I mean I think yeah because I my husband and I like the Mission Impossibles like
Yeah.
the like
Like a
Fast
little
Fives or
tension.
not yeah a little bit of tension like just enough where I'm kind of gripping his arm or like sometimes I just have to like
Yes.
hide in him. I just have to hide. I don't want to see it. So,
Very true.
yeah,
All
I think
right.
so.
Which you like better, dogs or cats?
Oh, I think dogs because my son and husband have cat allergies. So
Oh, yeah,
I have to
same.
yeah.
Which you like better, beaches or mountains? You have
Ooh.
both in Iceland.
Yeah, you do. You have black sand beaches. You know what? I'll say, yeah, Icelandic beaches
Nice.
and probably Icelandic mountains because there's no wild animals here. So
Yeah.
yes, but once I hit the States,
Oh
it may be more
man.
the beach, probably. I think.
Fairly recently, I watched The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, and there's like a whole long section in that movie in
Mm-hmm.
Iceland.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, it makes you want to go. What a beautiful place to live.
Yes, it is very, very
Oh my
beautiful.
gosh. All right, what's your favorite holiday to celebrate?
Okay, Christmas should be my obvious answer, and I love it. But I do love Thanksgiving. I think there's something just that part of it because like um everyone getting together to eat just the gratitude and honestly I feel like it kind of kicks off that whole
Mm-hmm.
holiday timing, right? And so it kind of almost prepares your heart for Christmas and all that, so I really do enjoy Thanksgiving.
Is it easy to get turkey there?
It's gotten easier. It
Oh,
was
good.
before where like you didn't have anything, but slowly the stores have started putting in turkeys and cranberry sauce and all that. And we would laugh because early on we would see like Black Friday sales and we're like, y'all don't even celebrate Thanksgiving. Like, why are y'all doing Black
Yeah.
Friday? So I guess they have more of the turkeys during that time and those little sides for the Americans who live in Iceland.
Do you have your dish that's your specialty for Thanksgiving?
Ooh, I make a good green bean casserole.
Mm,
And yeah, I mean, yeah,
good.
the green bean casserole, but I've started making a really good macaroni and cheese. And I'll just as I've learned how to make even more and more things from scratch and getting like the roux together and all those type of things.
Hmm.
So yeah, I
Hmm.
think
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Cool. What is your favorite Hallmark or romantic movie?
Oh, goodness. Uh, Hallmark movie is I can picture several in my mind, but I can't. There's no, I don't know if it was Disney. There was one with and I don't know why I really enjoyed it a lot because maybe people think it's cheesy. Okay, the twins, Tamara Mowry,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
she was singing. She had a really mean boss, but the boss ended up joining her singing. Was that Hallmark? I don't know, but I don't know if it was Disney.
She was singing. But like both of
Yeah.
them were in it or just one
Just one
of the
was.
Mallory's?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Well,
there's another one. I don't know
there
if it
was
was
that movie
her.
Dream Moms, but where she
Yeah, I don't
was
think it was Dream
singing.
Moms. Jingle, some kind of was it Christmassy?
Oh, yeah, what's that called? Where um
Oh, I can't remember. But you know, and but I do love like another probably not my favorite romantic
the
movie is probably Pride and
Mistletones?
Prejudice.
The Mistletones?
Mistletones, yes, yes,
Yeah,
Mistletones.
Mistletones.
I enjoyed
Yeah.
that one.
That is a
But
fun
I think
one.
what do you say?
That is a fun one. I forgot about it, but yeah.
Yeah, it just was fun, and I love the one that she did a while ago with her sister. And maybe it's called Double Wedding. I don't know, but like where they were um mistaken identity with the same guy, and so he thought he was dating one, didn't realize he was dating the both of them. But then he was really more a better match for Tamara's character, who was
Uh,
a
I don't
baker.
think I've seen
But
that one. That
yeah,
sounds
but then
fun
then
though.
then her sister was didn't realize how much her coworker really liked her, even though he was helping her get together with other guys and all that. And so that was a fun one too. But my favorite non-Hallmark, I think, is Pride and Prejudice. I
Oh
think it
yeah,
just
Double
yeah.
Wedding.
I think that's what
Pride
it's
and
called.
Prejudice? Which is your favorite like version of Pride and Prejudice?
Version. I think was it 2005? Yeah, Keira Knightley.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I love that one
yeah,
too.
yeah.
It's a great movie. Well, very good. You did it. You answered all the questions.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming to talk with us. This was a blast. It was great
Thank
to meet you.
you.
And why don't you tell people where they can follow you, like on social media and get the
Yeah.
book and everything?
Yeah. I would say definitely just head to my website, jennyerlingsson.com. You'll see links at the top to all those places, but I'm on both Facebook and Instagram, probably the most active on Instagram. But yeah, you can get information about pre-ordering or ordering, depending on what time when you're listening to this. And I'm grateful for you guys checking out the book, and I hope you love it.
Okay. I'd like to thank Jenny for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun to get to talk with her. I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about all the different things we talked about in the comments section or on Twitter. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media, and make sure you check out our playlist with all of our author interviews. I'd love for you to take a look at those. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group and merch store, so check that out. And thanks again to Jenny. We'll talk to you all later. Bye.